I certainly have a feeling of almost bowing down at gate A4 in Albuquerque anytime I pass by it. And I've passed by it many times since. Yeah.
Can we have you read that
Sure.
one for us?
Sure. And, I think something to say about this one is that it's written as prose, actually. It's more like a little prose paragraph poem. And certainly, this is, people have asked me, is this, invented? No, this is completely non-fictional. Every bit of this is non-fictional. And I made sure of that. I wrote it down that night before my memory would start elaborating on it. And when this started happening, I had no sense that it was a story in the making. It was just a distraction or an oddity. I had no sense this is something to be written about, or that I will write about, or anyone would write about. And I think that's interesting to remember about our days, that many things we live through just in the course of a day, if written, could take on, there's that little phrase, shining moments. They could become more shining if you focused on them enough to write them. So my one great regret about this piece is I did not get my new friend's address or phone number, so I could never send it to her. And I would have. I mean, I don't think she couldn't have read it, but her son could have translated it. Gate A4. Wandering around the Albuquerque airport terminal, after learning my flight had been detained 4 hours, I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate A4 was my own gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled to the floor, wailing. Help, said the flight agent. Talk to her. What is her problem? We told her the flight was going to be late, and she did this. I stooped to put my arm around the woman and spoke haltingly. Shudawa, shubiddik habibti, ستنى شوي من فضلك شو بتسوي? The minute she heard any words she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying. She thought the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for major medical treatment the next day. I said, "You're fine. You'll get there. Who's picking you up? Let's call him." We called her son. I spoke with him in English, saying I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons just for fun. Then we called my dad, and he and she spoke for a while in Arabic and found out, of course, they had 10 shared friends. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This all took up 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then, telling about her life, patting my knee, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade mamul cookies, little powdered sugar, crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts, from her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo. We were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There is no better cookie. And then the airline broke out free apple juice from huge coolers, and 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving it, and they were covered with powdered sugar too. And I noticed my new best friend, by now we were holding hands, had a potted plant poking out of her bag some medicinal thing with green furry leaves. Such an old country traveling tradition. Always carry a plant. Always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around that gate of late and weary ones and thought, this is the world I want to live in, the shared world. Not a single person in that gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those other women too. This can still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost. So thanks for listening to that slightly longer piece. I have felt very heartened and encouraged by people's response to that. I have also received shipments of mamul in the mail and delivered from people I barely knew, which has been pleasant also. It's been a path of, I would say it's an intention of connection that so many of us carry. You know, something unexpected happens and you wish it were otherwise. None of us wanted to wait 4 extra hours, but then something good happens, something very touching. I mean, I had never felt that close to all the people in an airport gate in my life. So it became a real bonding kind of delay.
You know, Naomi, I've probably read that and seen you read it, and it's been in articles probably a dozen times. And each time it just shines just so beautifully. It's sort of like a Zen koan where it's got such a deep humanity and a deep intimacy of truth. And it's so, for me, emblematic of how you take on these intractable world problems, you know, through this intimate quality of human experience. And thank you for that. It's really lovely.
That's so kind of you to say, John. And you know, well, we're all given stories